My name is Kerrie Dowdy, and I am running for PEA president. I'd like to start, thank you, by first introducing my campaign manager, my CM, Amanda Butcher.
Hello.
And Amanda is here with me tonight to start some short interview videos where I can share a little bit about myself, why I want to run for the presidency, and any other questions that might come up from any of you in the meantime up until the election.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited for this
Thank you,
whole
Amanda.
campaign. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
So let's just start off the conversation by telling everybody a little bit about yourself and just who you are.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in New York City. I did attend New York City public schools. I know. At PS 203 was my elementary school. After high school, I was an undergrad at NYU, and after I graduated from NYU, I started teaching in Brooklyn. My first 3 years of teaching were in Brooklyn at PS 297. I'm giving everybody the schools. Look them up.
Shout out.
PS 297. Shout out, definitely. I moved to Maine in the early 90s. I started teaching in Portland on the East End, and then I moved to Hall, which is now Row. And my personal life, I have 3 children. I have a 29-year-old. My oldest is a professional musician. He lives in New York City. I have a daughter who's 25 who has sadly moved to the West Coast, sadly just because I miss her and she's far away.
She's very happy, though.
Yeah, she's very happy, and she is a barista. I have a 21-year-old son who is in art school in Providence, Rhode Island. I also have a husband, Carmine, who has a day job and also runs a wedding band. And I have a dog, a sweet dog named Levon, who may or may not come into the picture at any point. Not sure.
I don't know. If I feel the same about Carmine, he may or may not come into the picture at any
That
point.
could happen. Ever since I moved to Maine, I have been a Portland resident. My kids all went to Portland public schools. And,
So that's a little bit about you. So, so why this next move then? If you've been teaching for so many years, why did you decide to run for union president?
It's an excellent question, Amanda. Thank you. Are you appreciating that question?
That was a great question.
I have pretty much been active in the PEA since I showed up in Maine, teaching in the Portland Public Schools. I tried really hard when I was a brand new teacher in New York City to get involved as an RA in my building, but those were really hard. The RAs in my building in Brooklyn were just like not giving up their posts.
Oh.
It was just it was a powerful union, the New York City Union at the time, and I didn't see an in for myself. Once I got to Portland, I got involved as an RA in my building right off the bat. I've been involved in all different kinds of PEA leadership positions. I have been a part of building-based liaison for a very long time. I have sat at the negotiation table. I've been on the Living Contracts Committee. I have represented the PEA at MEA events. I've sat through many, many different kinds of interpersonal disciplinary kinds of meetings with admin in my own buildings. And I just thought it's kind of interesting. I said this to a colleague the other day. If you had asked me if I was interested in running for PEA president 2 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said, thank you so much for asking, but no. This time I felt a very clear yes. And I think that part of that, honestly, if it's okay with you, I'm going to just really jump back to last year. Last year, I was unexpectedly assigned to Remote Academy. Yeah. So Remote Academy.
Like a week before school.
A week before school, I got a phone call that I was now going to be implanted, either or, into Remote, which was really a 1-year sort of paper school. There is a much, much, much smaller Remote Academy that still exists, but last year it was a K-8, and it was the largest school in Portland for the year that it existed.
Yeah.
Once I got to RA, unexpectedly, and so I really had to figure my way to find some positive components of teaching 8-year-olds online all day long. One unexpected gift that came to me was that I was now working with colleagues from all over the city. So I had colleagues from every elementary school and every middle school you can imagine. And we all started building new collegiality. I got to know a lot of people. And some of the things that I had always kind of known were true, I began to really hear directly were absolutely true. So, for example, how different schools interpret different components of the contract, specifically sometimes to like teachers' time when they're not directly student facing. And I would hear, at our school, this is how we do that. At our school, this is how we do that. And we started these really robust conversations, and it was just incredibly surprising to me that just say the 9 different elementary schools could almost have 9 different ways of interpreting and rolling out different contractual components.
And was that based on, in those conversations, was that based on how administration kind of felt they wanted to move forward with that? Or was it from leadership committees, or where do you think that was coming from?
I think it was a combination. I think that it was the interpretation of admin. I think it could be an interpretation of admin in conjunction with leadership. Okay. And the lack of, I guess, just opportunity for us as colleagues, as cohorts, to have conversations school to school. And I don't blame any one entity on that. When I first came into the district, there was a lot of professional development that was citywide. So you would naturally get to know your colleagues in other buildings, and that is no longer true. Yeah. So remote was a robust consortium of colleagues from all over the city, including middle school too. And we were finding out, this is how we do this in middle school. This is how we schedule conferences. This is how we schedule time, planning time. So anyway, and the other component that came from remote was that we then developed our own, I became an RA, we developed a liaison committee, and we started advocating tremendously for this new one-year school. Our admin in remote initially was central office. So we were really constantly advocating directly to the source without the middleman, kind of. And what that did for me is it showed me that I had an enormous amount of solid experience to move initiatives through. It showed me that I was unafraid to say unpopular things. And it showed me... Which is
honestly, let's be honest, that is a very important leadership skill, especially in a union position. You have to be able to say what needs to be said so it can be heard by the people who need to hear it, and people feel supported by their union representatives.
Absolutely. So yes, and we were making small progress.
Yeah.
I also kept a really close ear on my colleagues who were going back into the buildings and teaching, and also the tremendous range of their experiences last year. So all of this kind of swirled together, said to me, I took a step back and I thought, moving forward, I really want to take on more of an integral position in the PEA to advocate for colleagues, to advocate for educators, and I felt like I was the most prepared I had ever been to do that.
That's amazing.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I think it makes total sense, and I am personally very happy that you're running. I think you are qualified for this position because you are incredibly empathetic, but you're also diplomatic in the way that you talk to people. You really think about both sides of, whatever story is coming towards you, and present that in a way where it can be heard by the people who need to hear it. So, I'm really excited for you to, run and hopefully win. But what do you think is the one thing, and I think we can end it here, but what do you think moving into the position of, union leader, what do you think is the one thing that is really super important right now in this moment in Portland Public Schools that you want to address?
Thank you. That's a really good question. I would have answered something completely different pre-COVID.
Okay.
And that what I would say now. I think that over the course, and I'm not even COVID is not over, right?
No.
This is an endemic pandemic that we are in whatever phase of, the 3rd, 4th phase.
I don't know. I've lost count at this point. I don't know.
Right.
Sure. 3rd, 4th. Yeah.
I think that there were things that were interpretations or experiences of the contract in people's day-to-day jobs in the district that were, people were questioning things. People were wondering about things. But I think that over the course of COVID last year and this year, those things have just grown, right? I mean, during the last 2 years, educators have been asked to do things that were never a part of any, conversation about what the educator's day is going to look like. Above and beyond kinds of things involving tons of extra hours, responding to protocols, hosting vaccination clinics. Above and beyond. And so with all of that, what kind of grew in my mind is how unsustainable the living reality of the last 2 years have been.
Yeah.
And how to advocate, deeply, continuously advocate for the association, for all educators in the association, to see if we can get back to a place where we feel like our jobs are sustainable. And I want to say one last thing, and I'm sorry if I'm answering this too long.
No.
I also feel...
It's your interview. You take as long as you need.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks. I also feel like I have watched, and this is pre-COVID, but I'm continuing to watch the dissolution of mutual respect between the school board, between central office, for educators. I feel like the tone, the insinuation, the way that we are spoken about just indicates to me an extraordinary lack of respect. So for me personally, something else I will take on from day one is to try to continuously present in a way and say things in a way that will try to turn that around.
Okay. I think that says it all. So
thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, this is, I'm just going to call this episode 1.
Yeah, and my personal email, which I will link on the page, but it's also kerriedowdy53@gmail.com. I'm giving that out because please.
I'm going to put it right there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Amanda. Please, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, any concern you would like me to respond to, please send those to me, and Amanda and I will gather them up and put them right in our next interview.
We will. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. CM.